Awesome. So this, you're going to be happy because I have really two big sponsors on this podcast. Two of your favorite. It's broccoli and sunshine. I don't know if you're aware of those.
Well, you can't actually claim to have broccoli as a sponsorship, but you can take sunshine. It's not taken.
Yeah, it's sunshine today. So let's
with your hair color, you got to be careful of the sunshine.
I just came back from a month of Thailand, and yeah, it felt so good. The difference of training outside is massive. I try to kind of quit the weather out here in Montreal, which was -30 for about a month. So I kind of want to get into like what brought you to build a gym, and now a little bit more of an empire, I would say, like around the world. But moving from Canada to Arizona, that's a big move for a Canadian.
Yeah. I think, like, I'm not going to make the assumption, but I think it has a lot to do with the time when I started. Because when I started coaching, it was I guess a more well-respected profession. There was some underground regulation on, how you market and where you're training and who you train and, the kind of delivery of service and what's offered, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't prolific. There wasn't so many of us. So I think that's important to recognize to start, because if you start up things today in 2019, it's vastly different, just to get out there and navigate in the madness, I like to call it. So, yeah.
Everybody quits.
What's that?
Everybody quits so quickly.
Yeah, not everyone, but yeah, a lot of people. We could probably get into that conversation a little bit further down the road, but I just basically had, you just started out, but there was no plan. Like, the way I like to describe it is when you started this in the 90s, there was no booklet on like how to do this thing as a coach. And it was just, just get out there and figure it out. And I quickly realized that two major things. Number one, you had to have some kind of business with me, many years of trial and error. Building relationships and communication was the highest, form of coaching. It had less to do with skills in academia. And to make a long story short, I basically just navigated my way through that, and I was an early adopter to the process, gained success, jumped on board to a lot of things, and built it to this point.
So you started your business pretty much from Canada, and you were in Alberta, if I'm correct?
Yeah. I graduated from Memorial University in Newfoundland, and then right after I finished graduating there, in '98, I went to Calgary, Alberta, and basically just started sleeping on my friend's couch and being a whore to the fitness industry, just trying everything and testing myself out everywhere. And had, within a number of weeks, lots of job opportunities, and just started from there. And that was 98, 99. And then I moved to Arizona in 2011, August, after the businesses were built and I was starting to grow in awareness online for coaching athletes in Mixed Modal as a sport, and then my education called OPEX CCP.
But why Arizona? Is there a reason?
Yeah, the sunshine. Hashtag sponsored by today. The sunshine. Yeah, honestly, that was it, man. We experienced, my family. I have two young girls, and a beautiful wife, and a dog at the time. We had numerous opportunities to travel to warmer climates because of my job and just things we did. And every time we came back, it was like, we just don't want to do this anymore. It was challenging, and so we had visited some warmer climates previous, and we just stuck our family down here. The girls were young enough where they could start, creating a life here, and this is it.
That's awesome, man. So was that during that period that the name of the brand kind of changed to OPEX, or was that a little later?
It was just after that, because we were unaware of the fact that NASM and Michael Clark had used the 3 letters OPT in their personal training group. And of course, we had OPT, and we still do have it trademarked in Canada. Yeah. But in the States, we tried to trademark it and then create education underneath it. and they did not have it trademarked, but we just didn't want to do the back and forth battle of right of first usage, etc. So we just had to change the name, and it's been a good change.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't much of a difference at some point. Like, I mean, everybody kind of like followed you through.
Yeah. No, it was kind of a nice change because it took me out of the picture a little bit more and made it seem it's something a little bit more, a little bit larger, I guess you could say.
Oh, really? So do you find that has like a positive impact, like not being necessarily related as a person, but more as a brand?
Yeah, more. Because remember, OPT was the business that I was the primary person, and also OPT was connected to the competitive setting in CrossFit.
Right.
And so it was nice to move. It was nice to move it to OPEX to see that like it's not just me. It's just a bigger thing, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally. And so across that time, it's been a while that you're over there. What's the maybe the biggest things that you've learned across maybe more of the past 5 years, I'd say, from either being over there or into the fitness industry? How like you just said earlier that it was a lot harder nowadays. But what's the biggest thing that you've learned as a coach, as a business owner? It could be more than one thing as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. This is the first thing I think about is because we're piggybacking this on the move. I think I just learned a lot about nationalism. I learned a lot about the difference, because being a Canadian still and then moving to the United States of America, there's a lot of things to be learned in that. I don't want to exhaust it out, but you learn a lot about nationalism and national pride and like where things sit here and there. And I think that's highly beneficial just for anyone's consciousness, let alone no matter what you think about or how you judge it. Secondarily, opportunity is the second word I think of. The opportunity really is real, that if you kind of put your time in and you put your work in, I guess this could be prevalent anywhere, but where I am right now and the country that I'm in, there's nothing really that can hold you back from sticking your neck out there and working hard and getting benefits from that. And I don't mean that's not the case. You can't do that anywhere else, but that's a big learning that I recognized. I recognize that whether people like it or not, what happens in the United States of America for the movement and the speed of information and ideas, it happens very fast. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's all good, but it happens quickly. And so you got to kind of, I like that because you got to kind of stay on top of it and you're on this fast ride. So those are the three, I could go on and on, but I've learned a lot about the differences in life there and life here, and also just about being down here in Arizona.
And do you feel that the people that are in the States or even in your area in Arizona that are more aware of what is fitness?
Not really. I think there's just more conversation. Yeah. I don't think the awareness is different. I would say if anything, it's tipped on the side of more confusion down here because of more awareness, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that means that you guys are probably more a coach.
Yeah, there's so many angles and so many stories. It's like, what do we do? Just tell me what to do. Right. And so you can imagine that it confuses the market. So.
And what's the biggest confusion in your opinion?
I think that I just thought about this morning because I'm having another podcast later today, and it's going to be on this particular topic. I think that the highest point of interest that we kind of forget, and you and I are still, I'm classifying both of us as being young. We're still young in this whole thing. And I think one of the highlighting pieces that we don't really grasp is why are we doing structured exercise? I think that's the thing that no one wants to dig into it. Mm-hmm. And everyone who wants to dig into it and ask about it, or it's like you and I. If we were to walk by a doctor, I don't want to use a doctor, but anyone, right? And they weren't knowledgeable about what you and I think about for exercise and fitness, right? And they were like, "Listen, young fella, I'm going to give you some advice on how to live the most prosperous life. You gotta keep moving around. You gotta walk every day. You gotta eat low fat. You got to, say your prayers You got to, sit down to supper, and we're like, you don't know nothing. You need to be in the gym, like, getting huge, or like doing CrossFit, or doing, and ironically, that message from that person is actually the path to, to continue moving forward, right? So I think that we don't ask that question enough. Back to your point, like, why are people confused? There's no conversation on the intention of exercise. It's all about just fixing shit, right? So you and I don't know, I'm assuming, I don't even know what you do, but, you and I are, we probably have taken care of more people that want to use exercise as a rehab tool to fix their shit lifestyle, as opposed to giving them exercise that they can attach to that's going to give them fulfillment forever.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a personal trainer, and I coach a couple people online, and that's totally right. And the biggest mistake I've done in the past was actually not considering every other intention outside of the gym. I mean, it's only 1 hour a day, maybe 3 times a week for some people. Yeah. So everything else around, if it's screwed up, like, you're not doing anything.
No, but the answer has always been, hence the point of confusion, that people probably need to do more of the exercise now to fix all those other behaviors. So now they got the gas and the brake on at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's kind of shocking. I mean, it's how to find the kind of the weak links to everybody. And I think you guys have done a great job on your publicity, on your marketing, on making maybe OPEX a brand which is not necessarily aggressive into one point, but making it more broad.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good feedback. Thank you.
I mean, like that's probably why you guys divided it into big dogs and to OPEX after a certain point.
Yeah. Yes.
Could we dig a little bit more into that, like how that happened, and what are the benefits you've seen in across the weeks or across the past months?
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you know, if you don't, the message that I speak in terms of intention is fairly clear of athlete versus participant. Someone who wants to kill things and win, and then someone who wants to live long and hike up a mountain at 95, right? And those lanes are completely different. They're not even like close to being different. So if I had that under one umbrella for so many years, it's taken that amount of time to be able to splice them out effectively so that each of them can run to themselves. And that's why that eventual distribution and differences in the channels had to break. They're not broken, but they just have to be, just so everyone recognizes and listening, it's all still under Big Dog. It's all still under OPEX. Yeah. But what Big Dogs is this, and then OPEX CCP and OPEX Gyms is this, right?
But do you consider Big Dogs to be, well, any elite fitness for like either CrossFit or cross training do you consider it healthy?
No.
So it's kind of, that's maybe where it shifts. OPEX is more healthy, and Big Dogs is like, okay, you need to understand this isn't healthy.
Yeah. Well, we like to put it in different buckets with different names, but I like how you tried to tie that one
in. But yeah, so right. There's like any sports pretty much.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, people don't come to us be like, oh, I'd like to pay you this amount a month to give me an exercise program twice a week for bicep curls and walking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's yeah.
It makes me think about Dorian Yates back in the days, where he used to be like taking probably all these substances and only doing bodybuilding and not being very healthy. And right now, like I don't even think he goes in the gym anymore. I think he only hikes and does yoga and eats super well. And like he had a big shift across the years, right?
Yep, that's a great story.
And how about you? Like, how do you put your input into your training, into your nutrition? What's your kind of goals around that? Like personally, as a person?
Yeah. The great question. The middle point that I work around, I use as my anchor, is that I love exercise because I get to meditate during it. I get to come up with great ideas. I love movement. I love being consistent in it. So exercising every day of some sort forever is my goal. That's my anchor.
Every day.
Okay. Every day. And I just use auto regulation based upon how I'm doing. So every workout that I have, what's going on in my head as I do it is like, is this going to allow me to like do this till I'm 90?
Right.
You know? Yeah. And then some days if I feel like I can cook it, I'll go for it. And then probably the next day, what am I doing? Something far less intense. But I'm moving every day. So that's my anchor. And I want to do that for so long because I love exercise. I love the variety. I love the learning that takes place in it. It's a meditative practice for me. And then everything just wraps around that. So what do I do for nutrition? Everything that impacts my ability to exercise every day, right? What impacts my nutrition? I want to be mentally acute, to be a husband and a father and a business leader and a coach and a person in society that can operate civilly with great decision-making, right? So that's what leads my nutrition is I just do trial and error of like, well, what allows me to be cognitively as best as possible, right? And which supports my exercise habits.
And do you count your food or do you kind of go with how you're hungry?
Yeah, every now and then I'll go through like a 7 to 10 day, maybe every 2 months or so. It also allows me to see the newest kinds of data and intake areas out there because I try to stay on top of that for our coaches, right? What they do in the trenches.
Yeah.
So more recently, actually, I've been using Chronometer, and I just finished that a couple of weeks ago. But I'll go through that, for 2 weeks of being very clear on measuring things. Just kind of stay tight with things.
And then after that, you just bring it through whatever after. It kind of like blends in. You get used to that habit.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it hasn't really changed that much for a really long time. But it's always good to like just see, oh, interesting. That looks no different than what it did like 3 years ago.
Do you think that it's kind of bullshit for like some trainers to say they don't have time to train every day like you do?
Fuck yeah. Do people say that?
A lot of people say that.
Oh, dude. Fucking no one around me. You would not be in my facility or in my gym or put an OPEX shirt on with that attitude.
Really? So you call bullshit to that?
Fuck, dude. That's our tools.
Yeah.
That's our tools. We have to be the emblem of what they inspire to be in terms of consistency.
Right.
And in terms of learning, right? If you're fucking lazy and you can't do 3 strict pull-ups, you are not a fucking fitness coach. You're fucking not. So if you're a weak person, you're starting out and you're learning how to get 3 pull-ups, that's different. That's different, right? But if you're fucking lazy, that's what it is lazy. That's your job. That's your job. You have to be almost so disciplined in your own daily lifestyle practice that it looks obsessive. But it's not obsessive because it's discipline, right? Because we have to be the emblems in society of consistency. Otherwise, you are inside of that chaotic formula of madness. Why would you ever have clients who want to be consistent with their water and exercise 3 to 5 times a week if the emblem of consistency, their coach, doesn't do that?
Yeah, you're right. I'm totally 100% okay with that. I feel that I see a lot of people around that they kind of like when they start being really busy as a coach or as an owner, they just kind of stop. And you'll see that a lot with some gyms where the owner kind of like started their gym because they like to work out. And they just want more time. And the more you see them growing the gym, they're not even in the gym anymore, right? They're just
and guess what? The gym fails over time.
Yep.
Why? Because they didn't show a slow progress, right? They gave up exercise and lifestyle, and they built this business, right? But it was built on a shit foundation of bad decisions and not being an inspiration. So then you get people come in and they're bad-mouthing them like, you need to take time to come into my classes 5 times a week. And they're like, what the fuck, dude? You didn't exercise for 2 years. You built this business, right? That culture gets bled inside the walls of the gym. That
pisses you off, huh?
Dude, that's it. Well, it's resistance around what I try to do. I try to go out there and tell people I'm on the side of the coach, right? I want to create an emblem in society so people look at the fitness coach and go, that's the fucking person we should be going to for questions around how to fucking live long and prosper. Right? Not that what you're not living, but what you're describing. That's not. So I have to vehemently oppose that idea. Vehemently oppose that idea. I got a big fucking problem with that.
Every coach that gets into that kind of pattern should listen to this podcast and hear this.
Yeah, dude, think about that. Think about the better decision. Like, think about this. What are you fast tracking? Are you fast tracking business, right? Without a base of support. So you miss exercise for 2 years to build your business. Now what you got to do? Now you got to backtrack on your health.
Yeah.
Because you didn't take time to do that, right? Or how are you going to teach someone to find priorities of exercise in their lifestyle? They're coming to you, right? Dude, I got no time for exercise. How are they going to fucking believe you? Right? You're not making time for it. Oh, man.
Do you hear it? Do you hear it around you? Into like maybe more of the CrossFit world or other?
Probably because of this energy I'm giving off.
Yeah.
I'm probably scaring people into thinking that they should be exercising. I don't fucking care. That's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? I didn't say you got to be a maniac. You got to move every day. You got to learn, right? How are you going to know about the newest neural developmental floor to standing protocols if you don't practice it?
Exactly.
Oh man.
That's what's going on, man.
Oh,
hopefully it changes.
We gotta stop that.
Oh yeah. And obviously,
well, that's what my CCP does. Is we challenge those coaches to be their own coach, right? They got to go through all this learning. They got to do weightlifting. They got to do absolute strength. Mm-hmm. They got to test their structural balance, right? They got to do energy system training. They got to do the flywheel like 10-minute test, right? They got to do this shit, right?
I have a couple people that are just accountable to whatever I do. Like they're always just kind of checking. My girlfriend's a physiotherapist, and she's just like, oh, like did you do your workout? Did you do this? What do you get? How's your knees? And just like regular like accountability stuff. People at the gym are just like you're coaching yourself, but at the same time you have some people that are kind of like micro checking on you, and I think that's great to have that kind of environment. And anybody out there that doesn't have that should probably change gyms or
go find it. You can go find it. You can get lots of online communities that can help you with that too, right? There's lots of that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
How has the stress played into your life? How do you manage it to be the more optimal as possible and keep that joy of life you have?
I think if anything, it's recognizing that stress, there's scalar pieces to getting older of recognizing depression and complete utter bliss and joy. Yeah. And I think the more you recognize that as you get older, like as my brain has developed more and I've had more experiences in my life, I've had a great relationship for 20 years. I have 2 beautiful children. I have an unbelievable business. I get to speak to people like you, right? You just learn more over time. And what I learned more over time is that stress is a reality, right? I think we have to see it as like, it's not about the stress, it's how you respond to that and how aware are you of it. So I think if you get ahead of it and recognize, dude, life isn't fucking butterflies and rainbows, right? Nor is it complete nihilism and depression, right? But I'm going to be lying to you if it doesn't do this. I mean, that's just the way it is. But this is how growth occurs, right? You got to swing back and forth in that. So to your point on stress, I think just over time, I probably have just responded to it differently because of my awareness around this natural rhythm, natural rhythm. I used to think when I was 10 years old walking to school in Northern Labrador that the 20-minute walk in the morning, which would freeze my eyelids, was stressful, It's like, oh my God, this is so much stress, And
you had no idea. You had no idea.
Now as a 45-year-old adult, I'm like, oh man, I got my upper back burned 2 days ago. That's so stressful. You know, it's like, so it's all about how you perceive it or what it looks like. Yeah. And, you know, we can get into, you know, some of my thoughts I have on that. A lot of people, I think, walk into those areas of stress for different reasons, and they don't see it as just like this universal collective test that they need to, like, you know, are you going to stand up to this? Are you going to, like, how are you going to respond to it? Instead, it's like, oh, I'm so stressed. It's like, yeah, fucking everyone has stress. Have you ever thought about the fact that you've asked for that? Like, it's possibly a reason to help you grow. You know what I'm saying?
You have to do something about it.
Yeah, like, it's like, well, you know, what you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to, there's only a couple options, right? Are you going to whine, or are you going to fucking do something about it? Right?
What do you do to help you when you have these moments of stress across your day or across your week or whatever?
I analyze it a lot. I just look at it and be like, why is that? Where did this come from? Why is that the case? Why did I not see it coming? How can I prepare for it in the future? How strong am I for the current stress? Is how I'm dealing with it. You know, I have a niggling knee injury that I was a funny. It's a funny thing, but anyways, I was playing with my dog, and I threw a ball at her while I was planting and turning, and so I have this little strain in my plantaris and behind my knee. It's not causing any grief for any activity that I do, but it's there, right? So, you know, just to give you an example, as an n=1, you know, I looked at that and I was like, I wonder how long it will take me to recover from this stress compared to when I was like 22, right? And so this is how I looked at it. I didn't look at it and be like, oh my God, my knee, you know, I can't do this, or won't be able to do that. It's like, hey man, shit happens. It's stress. It's a point of stress. And now how am I going to deal with it? And most interestingly, you know, how am I dealing with stress differently today as to what I did years ago, and why, right? And also, what can I do for the future to ensure that possibly either doesn't happen again, or how can I recover from something like that even better? So I started thinking about things about, like, how's my immune system health, right? Do I have better or less proprioception around my joints? And as I age, they're less. So yeah, so that's what I think about when stress comes on. I just kind of analyze it and say, where does this come from, and what am I going to do about it? And you know, how can I learn from it?
And stress is, in my opinion, always a little bit more condensed into like big cities. Every time you go into big cities, everything's going so fast and nobody's kind of taking a break.
Yeah.
And you'll see that.
Yeah, I'd say it's everywhere. I mean, I'm not gonna agree with you that it's only in the big cities. I'm sure there's a lot of people on a farm in the middle of Kansas and nowhere that are so anxious it would blow your mind.
Ooh.
You know, so it's not just big city. I'm sure that contributes with the electromagnetic frequency and the collective energy and possible political upheaval, you know, and I can add 5 more things to that in a condensed area. I totally agree, but people can get really sick just by the thoughts in their head, right? So it's, you know, stress. I'm not going to say is only placed in a city, because there's a lot of positives to being in a tribal atmosphere like that in a big city. It offers a lot of things that would be deemed less stressful on a psychological, you know, assessment.
Yeah. That's
like security and you know, opportunity for friendship and opportunity for being aware of, especially in Montreal, how culturally diverse, you know, this is. You're on such a small planet in this massive universe. You know, there's lots of things, the positives of that.
Yeah, and I bet that what you guys do at OPEX is kind of like bring that into the atmosphere of learning, of not only training, like we were saying earlier. You guys like kind of like coach your athletes to be aware of that.
Yeah. The awareness thing is, I would say, primary. It's first and foremost.
Oh, really? So that's like kind of like one of your primary points when you get a new client or when somebody hits in the gym.
Well, yeah, I'd say in context it is, because for, you know, what happens for the new person, whether they enter an OPEX gym or they come to Big Dogs, is that we go through a really lengthy consulting process around why you're doing what you're doing.
And then you identify if there is a presence.
Exactly. Just see basically what they want to do, why they want to do it, and then we can, navigate to kind of help them out best way we can,
I'm very curious of like what's your thoughts on how you guys brought nutrition into coaching your athletes? I mean, a lot of people go see one coach, one there, and we'll kind of get like a big orchestra, but there's nobody that's kind of like managing all that. How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's based upon, I'm not going to say mine, but like an OPEX philosophy that goes into it. And again, it's because of when I started. I started in the mid-90s, remember, when there was pretty much only like, 3 big dogs on the street, okay? Standard Canadian diet, which is big agriculture and milk-led, right? Secondary was the low-fat movement, Dean Ornish, Bernstein, Isocal diet, and then there was the low-carb movement. Okay, that was the only 3 things, right? And then there was like offshoot opportunities in bodybuilding, for flexible dieting atmosphere or cyclical ketogenic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, those are the only 3 big players. So that's important to recognize, right? So then now as you move further along, it gave me lots of opportunity as a professional and a person to experiment with a ton of different things, right? If you add, and I'll be quick in that, if you add a lot of functional medicine knowledge to that, meaning I'm not a functional medicine practitioner, but I studied next to a functional medicine doc and did a lot of functional medicine learning for years and years and years, you start to recognize that when it comes down to what people should be doing for, I'm air quoting now, for those who can't see it, nutrition is really quite simple, but we've made it unbelievably complex because we're trying to fix so many different bad lifestyle choices. Again, so it's taken me all those years, right, to come back and to not anchor myself on one thing, but there are 2 things that I anchor on, i.e. what is OPEX nutrition? It's personalized, meaning that wherever you're going to go for the next couple of weeks is based upon where you are today. Secondly, we believe that basic lifestyle guidelines will fix most issues, not nutrition itself.
Do you feel that? What would you suggest when you see like people that are like either super messed up on their nutrition and like there needs to be a big drastic change, even in training and into nutrition? Do you guys kind of like, okay, we're gonna start by doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or you do like one at a time, or you go all in? What's your
yeah, there's no one way formula to it, but I'll speak about it in terms of principles. Number one, you got to ask, how good are those people at behavioral change, right? And that's an extended conversation we do in consultation. Just give us an idea, like, how have you dealt with challenges before? When have you done something like this in the past? How old are you? What is your experience in fitness? How many food profiles have you done? Et cetera, because that bubbles up our answer, right? Because if we get everyone in and they're like, I've been consistent in exercise, I love this shit, I eat clean, it's like, what are we giving them? The world is their oyster. Like, go for it. But if someone needs some changes, like you said, drastic changes, exercise, nutrition, I first want to figure out how they're going to deal with change, right? So we go after that. And then, yes, I would say there's a 2-pronged approach because they all work together. We believe that exercise and lifestyle behaviors and just behaviors overall and nutrition all need to work together, right? Because they're all complementary to one another and they all directly feed off one another. So we would say, yeah, if there's drastic changes, I need to first figure out how your behaviors are and changing. And then we need to do very small approaches in both moving forward so that you can see the benefits of those small changes. Then it allows you to get inspired to continue to create some more changes. Whereas I could, and even research would probably show this, only because the research took 6 to 8 weeks to do because that's all they could get the research money for. So that if you change, drastically high-intensity interval training and go to a certain diet, you'll get these unbelievable results for 6 weeks. There's no doubt about that. And now white paper evidence will sell that, except they don't follow these people for years. right? And so what happens is that short-term drastic thing that you just spoke of creates a yo-yo behavior, yo-yo dieting profile for someone for a really long period of time. Why? Because they didn't have the correct intent, and no one ever asked them, how do you deal with behavior change? Because you need to get what you're capable of doing moving forward. So small answer, small pieces, both for exercise and nutrition, and we just track it. 2 weeks later, I asked you to, change that bread over to that bread and do this for your water and do this for chewing your food. Let's get some feedback on that. How is that? Well, I saw this improvement and I noticed this the other day. And it's like, excellent. You're moving slightly forward. Here's the next little thing I want you to implement.
So it's creating simplicity with something that was built on complexity.
Yes. Yeah, possibly. Or it could have just been chaos and guesswork on behalf of the client.
I see a lot of guesswork into people that like eat some things that think that are healthy, but when you look at some things, they're like eating like a bunch of almonds and skim milk. I mean, it's not healthy. Like if you eat too much of it.
Yeah, everything in moderation, but they have to your point, if they think that there's something that's not in line with what I think, then that's just an opportunity for education.
Yeah.
Right.
So like if there's what were the backdrops from like the shows like The Biggest Loser or like Bringing Sexy Back and all these things, like like showing to the public what the people need to do to kind of become obese to like regular, and then those people, like I've seen like results of these guys, like they just gained more fat and more weight than when they started.
Yep, it's that whole reality TV game show style, Kardashians, American Idol, Jillian Michaels, those three or those kinds of like social movements just created a shitstorm for the culture around fitness. Because they thought that that's exactly why you should do certain things, and it changed up reality versus fantasy. So everyone thought they could be a star in 6 weeks, or everyone thought that they could look a certain way. Everyone thought that they could become an Instagram star, and so it just created this incorrect alignment for people.
Right. And how about
our entire culture and generation now is stuck with that.
What are your thoughts on Instagram and social media? I know you're pretty good with kind of calling it out on your own account, and I love it. I mean, it's super honest and you stay true to yourself. But
yeah, well, I got to play the game. I can't be a hypocrite if I'm not on there. And I'm more of an old school social media person, right? Where you would do it for narcissism or just showing people what you're up to or staying consistent with your training, or that was my precipice of being on social media, was my YouTube videos in the CrossFit days. And so now this is just another opportunity for me to keep telling people what I'm doing every day and to keep myself accountable. So I play that game, so I know what's out there. I also know the marketing aspect of the strength of social media too, depending upon what you want to do. So whether we like it or not, technology is a big part of what we do today. In fitness and combating that reality and fantasy perspective. So I don't have any thoughts on it really, because it exists. So if it exists and we have to wrap ourselves around it to use it appropriately, we'll just try to find any ways of possibly doing that. And in 5 years, there'll be some different ways of doing it, and we'll just have to adapt to that as well.
And to have also all different kind of streams like YouTube, website, not only like this Instagram, because if Instagram just closed tomorrow, I mean, if you don't have anything else, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Well, it depends upon what, it may make things even better actually for fitness, because it would, close down the interwebs of the saturated online market. Yep. Which is just becoming so saturated now, because you don't know who's real anymore, or who's on a beach in South Mexico just like pumping programs out saying that they're an elite online coach, being paid by Venmo and just throwing out templated programs. So I think it would cause some disruption in that. And then I think it'd be helpful for the micro gyms because you're actually going to have to get off your ass and go out there and try to find clients and meet with people in your community and tell people how powerful you are and how you can help individuals. So I think that might be a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It'd be shitty for us because then I'd have to go door to door with leaflets telling people about OPEX CCP.
Hey, I got chocolate.
Hi. How old are you? You got a job? Yes. Okay, I'm out. Sorry to bother you. Next door.
Thanks a lot, James. I have three out of the ordinary questions, and then we could be up. You could go elaborate on that. Okay. First question, who is your favorite female athlete of all time and why?
Great question. Let me I've got a robust history of athleticism. This first thing came to my head, Gabriella Sabatini.
Who's that?
Former tennis player.
Really?
Anyone who's as old as me will appreciate that one. She was a tennis player back in the day, and I had a severe crush on her when I was younger.
That's a great reason.
I won't lie. That's why.
Woman crush.
Pre-wife.
What's a James Fitzgerald's theme song? What song pops out in people's head when you get into a new room or at home or?
Oh man, it's got to be some dead mouse. It's got to be some dead mouse beat.
Okay, any dead mouse beat.
Yeah, any dead mouse beat, man. That's definitely what my theme song is.
Just to crank it up.
High beats per minute.
The last question is kind of we kind of answered it earlier, but let's do it on the other way. So if you would have to change countries to live in the rest of your days, and you can't choose Canada or the United States, which one would it be?
Yeah, which one would it be? Well, my wife and children would have to be taken into that consideration. So when I say that, it may be Costa Rica. We have a home down there, and it's got so many positives. Energy vibes and positive things associated with health. It would be, quasi-grid minus the satellite feed. So that's probably where I'd go. Tambor, Costa Rica.
I love Costa Rica. I've been there already 3 times. It's awesome.
Beautiful.
I loved Dominical. Dominical was my favorite.
Never been. I've never been. I've been to the south and as well on the west coast where all the surfing takes place.
We're in Santa Teresa and Tamarindo, that area.
Yes. And Nicoya? Yeah, that's south of there.
Yeah, that area is just impressive. Like, there's no pavement. It's just like raw.
No.
Yeah.
And
there's quite a lot of fitness over there too. People are in good shape in Costa Rica. No army and no war, nothing. Not like their brothers.
Sunshine, surfing, hiking, good food. Man, I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me.
Awesome, James. Thanks a lot. Where can people find you? Where can people check out your stuff online?
Yeah, OPEXFit.com is where we have all of our information and everything. Thebigdogs.com. And then you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. On Twitter, I only post the podcasts that I listen to, so they may see this one fly through. And then on Instagram, I post my daily workouts, some stuff that I'm doing for CCP, some things that I'm up to, some thoughts I may have, nature pictures, beautiful Arizona nature, and that's J Fitz OPEX.
Awesome. Thank you, man. This was great.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you.
Cheers, man.